Welcome to Konoha Crush, a clandestine effort to exhaustively research and document events occurring in and around the village hidden in the leaves. I'm Ruby.
And I'm Gwen. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know, I've been trying to just keep my head afloat before I fall into Final Fantasy 14 hole next week.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna have anything to talk about next week on the podcast before we get into the Naruto episodes, because what I am bringing to our first segment next time is the understanding that nobody will want to hear about Final Fantasy 14 by the time that episode goes up.
Well, I certainly won't. For listeners, I'm one of the very few people in Ruby and I's extended friend group that does not play Final Fantasy.
It is an exceedingly small number at this point, and it's very brave, I want to say, of her to hold out and continue to not play Final Fantasy XIV.
I just can't do MMOs, and maybe we can talk more about Final Fantasy.
No, that's not something I'm going to go that deep into this week, right? Because I'm just getting back into the swing of things, and you don't really care, and I'm not planning on going to it next week either, unless you really want to.
I mean, I don't hate hearing about it.
We'll see. But I guess, the thing that's been on my mind these last few days is that I just finished watching the TV version of the Demon Slayer Mugen Train arc. So I actually never watched the movie because for whatever reason, I was having a hard time just finding 2 hours to sit down and watch a kind of middling Demon Slayer arc. But I could do it spread out over 7 weeks. Oh, and a longer amount of time.
Interesting. Because I saw the movie.
Uh-huh.
And because I saw the movie, I didn't want to waste my time watching it stretched out into a bunch of anime episodes.
That makes sense. There was see, it's interesting because I think maybe my favorite episode of it was the first one, which was just all new stuff for the TV version, as far as I understand.
Okay, so it's worth checking out?
If you care on that level, if you want to see, I can't remember the guy's name. What's the ketchup and mustard hair guy's name? Rengoku?
Yeah, I don't fucking care. He dies anyway. Who gives a shit?
Okay, so yeah, if you're on that level, if you're one of the big Rengoku heads and you want to see that, you want to see another little solo adventure starring him, that's probably a great time for you. But if you're just kind of along for the ride because it's the big thing, you don't got to go back. But no, because I didn't watch the movie, by the time I got around to watching the TV version, it definitely had this reputation of here is the contents of the highest grossing anime film ever made. And I guess it was hard for that to not color it, because I think it's okay.
Yeah, that is my review of the movie also. It's a pretty good, very long episode of an anime.
Right, and it's not that much more impressive than an episode of that anime.
It's not, and let me tell you, there were a lot of 3D effects on that there train, and they did not look fantastic.
Yeah, that's kind of what you go for with Ufotable a lot of the time, but it's not to everybody's taste. It's not always to my tastes. I think there's definitely some big CG masses of flesh in there that I don't think look great. But yeah, it's weird because this is the biggest thing, and I'm coming at it from the perspective of trying to understand why it's the biggest thing, and I guess I don't know if I fully get there.
Well, regardless of the content of the actual movie, Demon Slayer is a hugely popular and pretty good shonen anime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm coming into this kind of cold on this specific arc because I think it's kind of unfocused. And I think it's a pretty weak take on the specific tropes that it's playing with a lot of the time. But there are parts of Demon Slayer that I really like.
Right. And the metric by which we judge movies is how many people bought a ticket. And the thing about that is that people haven't seen the movie when they buy their ticket. So it's a popularity contest more than it is a judging of the quality of the movie itself.
But I think people came away really high. From what I saw, a lot of people came away really high on the movie, just generally speaking. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I can see that, but that's them coming away high on Demon Slayer as a whole, and the movie being the next part of it. More so, I think, than the movie as a different self-contained thing.
I suppose that's true. It's just, yeah, when I watch it, the thing that I kept getting struck by is that it does the sort of, here's the characters and they're stuck in a dream that represents what they want, and then it's not a very interesting version of that because two of the characters, who are also two of the main characters of the show, just get a joke in there. And so it just shows no real investment in them for that part. And I don't think either of the antagonists are that interesting in this arc. I was sort of surprised to see that the actual, like, big moment of the movie was so disconnected from the train part.
Yeah, it's really funny. They wrap up the train part, and then it's like, okay, time for the climax.
Now it's time for a different guy. But it's just weird. It's part of a growing alienation I've been feeling about the sort of extreme flavor of the month shonen stuff. Because, I don't know, I feel like growing up, it was... I mean, I grew up in the era of, like, the big three in the Western consciousness of anime fandom. And, you know, when I was in high school, Naruto was big. When I was in college, Naruto was big. And then Naruto ended.
I mean, me too. We're roughly the similar ages.
And now it's like, whenever a new thing airs, it is the biggest thing until it goes off television and then a different thing starts airing. And then maybe it is the biggest thing again when it gets back on television. And it's just a weird mode of like consumption and excitement that I have a hard time really vibing with, I guess. Because it feels so much like specifically a mode of consumption where it is time to see the new thing and be excited about the new thing all the time.
Right. Because it's like 12 episodes that were released how many years ago?
For what?
I mean, for Demon Slayer as an example.
That was like 24 episodes, then that was a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah, right. Like, that's nothing. For the anime culture that Ruby and I came up in, a show that is still ongoing and came out 2 years ago, 24 episodes in a movie is nothing. There is no of that show.
There are 720 episodes of Naruto, and I want to say, like, 9 movies? Maybe more?
Right, and, like, I don't think that's a fault inherently. Obviously, it is, like, probably not a healthy, like, work schedule.
I mean, the thing is that the 24 episodes or whatever is not, in many cases, a more healthy work schedule. Like, you look at how many times MAPPA specifically is pulling up big Shonen Jump licenses with Jujutsu Kaisen and then soon Chainsaw Man. And that is a nightmare studio in terms of work schedule and just general, like, employee treatment. So it's hard to call this, like, an improvement on that side, I think. And maybe there's an argument to be made about it being better if you can just do like 24 episodes and then go on break to let more accumulate. But it definitely leads to a weird mode of like very intense excitement about a thing that often leaves me feeling kind of alienated and burned on it in a weird way.
They should just make anime worse, and then when that becomes more economical, they can start making more of it.
Okay, here's the problem, is that because they keep making more and more anime, they're just sort of, it's just sort of trending towards, like, on average, there is more anime that is worse because there are just not enough people to be making all of the anime.
Right. The implication there was worse, less anime.
Okay.
And then when that becomes healthy...
Then when that becomes healthy, they should stay there, actually.
Right, but, like, expand by actually expanding, not making more work for everyone that's already there, right?
I suppose so. The labor issues of the anime industry are more complicated than we are going to solve in the first episode of this. I mean, the first segment of this podcast.
There should only be one anime.
What anime is it?
And everyone, well, let's think about this. It's got to be a new anime, because it's not fair if you let some people continue on the thing that they were working on and make other people move to that thing.
Okay.
So one brand new anime, and everybody, if you're working on anime, you're working on that one.
This is also a bad idea, but...
It wasn't supposed to be a good idea.
But it's a new idea. I feel like we've gotten pretty far afield of the initial topic, so maybe it's time to move on?
That's my job. Yeah, do we want to get into the episodes? I think you wanted to talk about something before that.
Yeah, so specifically when I was looking at my at the various video files I have Naruto on hand, I noticed the thumbnails for episode 7 is suddenly different than the thumbnails for the episodes before it, because the opening is actually different this time. It is the same song, and it is, like, you know, the same, like, there's not any, like, differences in terms of, like, what is being shown, but there's a lot of like, the more I looked at it, there's, like, more and more significant changes. Like, the first thing that I noticed from that thumbnail is, like, in those early shots is the colors of, like, the sunrise or whatever are a lot more subdued, and there's these weird digital like ray of light effects that are kind of obscuring some of the detail in the shot. So you can kind of tell immediately that there's been some changes to the composite, but also you get a little bit further in and you notice that the cut where Naruto is there's a cut where Naruto is like lip syncing to the music a bit, and that's like extremely different. And I'm not going to go like cut by cut, change by change, listing everything that's different, but you can tell on two levels that there are both changes to the composite, and also there's like a pretty extensive pass in terms of animation direction. Like there's a lot of corrections made. I guess I'm curious before I like go more in depth on like what specifically this entails. Like, did you do much comparison to these? Did you like notice much?
I noticed they were different. I didn't go through and do like a side by side.
You weren't like frame stepping through each version of it like a crazy person.
Yeah, I wasn't frame stepping through each version of it like you.
Yeah. So yeah, when I talk about part of the reason that I want to talk about this is I think it's very illustrative of what what was meant when we talk about animation direction. Because if you like make comparisons, you can tell like there's some changes to not just making sure that the designs are a little more on model and consistent, but also there's a lot of times where the movement is clarified or made like more dramatic. There's you can pretty consistently notice that the line work is a little finer and more consistent, and a lot of the detailing and shading on the clothes especially is sort of more subdued and softer, and there's like a different feeling to the bunching of the fabric on the clothes.
Is Naruto shinier? I think Naruto's shinier.
What do you mean shinier?
Like shinier.
I mean, there's definitely times where like the dark shading on his hair and his clothing is toned down.
Specifically, I think I'm looking at... I don't have them both up to compare, but I think when he's getting out of the water after wrestling that big dude.
Maybe he's shinier there.
I feel like he's shinier there.
But yeah, I mean, so...
No, he's not shinier there. I'm crazy.
Okay. I was like, I didn't notice him being shinier there, and I was very confused.
Was Naruto always this wet?
Was there always a river there that Naruto fell in? I think some of the things that are very like some really clear examples like what's changed on an animation and direction front that I can point to are there's the cut where Naruto like slices through the logo and he's flipping through the air, and you can see a lot of the poses in that in the newer version are they're made way more extreme. Like the angle on them and there's just like a lot more extreme angles and like a clearer line of movement. You can see this is a subtler one, but like in terms of just like cleaner movement, there's a bit where Kakashi is crouching on some power lines, and in the initial version he's just sort of like moving every part of him at once. But in the newer version, he like crouches down and then raises his hand up to like wave, and there's a little like bit more springiness to the waving motion as a result. And there's the cut where Naruto and the Shadow Clones are jumping and like they're attacking the big guy, and there's like a real significant difference to the timing of that clip that I think makes the emotion a lot more clear in there. The other thing is that part of a good animation director's job is to know when to not really get involved, because Norio Matsumoto's big scene, where it's the big rotating action scene, is the actual line work in that is completely unchanged. Unfortunately, I think it's done a little bit dirty in the new composite, where it's zoomed in more and the whole thing is a lot murkier. The actual lines are untouched.
Yeah, and important to mention also, Sakura still doesn't do anything.
She wrestles a guy to the ground. It's fine.
I'm just saying, she puts one guy in an arm lock, Sasuke and Naruto each take out like 2 or 3, and then she doesn't even get to dodge the big log by herself.
It's important to accurately represent the work in the opening, Gwen.
Well, they shouldn't have. They should have made the opening different, and then made the work reflect the opening.
And I've been sort of digging on the on some of the composite changes, because I think there's definitely some weak ones, but you can also see a few times like there is a shot where the actual positioning of the characters is like moved around a bit within the shot, and but like you can see like, oh hey, the characters are positioned in a way that makes I think the shot a lot more clear. And there's a bit again at the end where Naruto is climbing out of the water. You can see the in the initial version there's like this really overdone digital effect on the like distortion of the things that are beneath the water that is toned way down in this one to good effect. So it's not all bad. It's kind of a mixed bag on that front, but I think the new animation direction touches, new corrections are, I think they're very striking if you know what you're looking for, and very, very interesting in terms of how to like spot what is very interesting in terms of what exactly that sort of good animation direction can bring to this sort of project.
Ruby, I just had an insane idea.
What's that?
What if I made the cover art worse for the first 2 episodes of the podcast?
Christ. You could do that.
When we got here, I touched it up. Like, it's the same picture and everything, but it's just,
Like, the features are like, moved along the face a little bit. They're drawn a little more evenly. That seems like a bunch of extra work to make for yourself for a very silly bit. I don't know how much people would notice, but you could do it.
Pretty funny if I did it. So, we're going to move on to the episode. Ruby, before we start with, like, the recap and talking through, piece by piece, do you have anything to say about your, like, just overall impression of the episode? To kind of set the tenor of how we're going to be talking about it.
I think this is a very normal episode of anime. I think it's very average, like, just in terms of the way the adaptation goes.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's about what I'm feeling. Did you have a specific feeling about this episode you wanted to...
No, I was just throwing a curveball at you to make you say something dumb, maybe.
Oh, did it work?
No.
Well, I can never tell if I've said something dumb until, like, a good week afterwards, generally.
Yeah, me neither. Though usually I figure it out around Thursday.
Is that when you get out the podcast?
Yeah, well, because I have D&D on Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
So we record on Tuesdays, by the way.
No idea when these episodes go out, but
yeah,
if you ever want to get a question into us on some contact form that we haven't discussed or mentioned on this podcast at all,
in by Monday.
Yeah, or maybe in the day during Tuesday. We go pretty late on Tuesdays, but this is an extreme hypothetical that doesn't seem particularly relevant right now.
Yeah, it's also not going in the podcast at all.
Okay, are we gonna get into the actual episode now?
Episode 7, The Assassin of the Mist. Team 7 and Tazuna are being brought to the Land of Waves by a small boat. On the ride over, we learn that the man targeting Tazuna is a very rich shipping magnate / crime lord named Gato, who stands to lose a lot of money and influence should the bridge Tazuna is in charge of building be finished. Tazuna apologizes for not being able to afford a mission of the proper rank, but asks them to follow through with the mission and protect him from Gato's hired assassins. Team 7 reluctantly agrees to help after Tazuna uses the emotions of his family as leverage. Right.
So because I am looking at the manga in concordance with these episodes, generally speaking, the first thing I noticed is that there's some reordering of like some kind of awkward scene construction in the manga here, where the chapter that this scene is in starts with the bit from the end of last episode where Naruto has his like hand wound that heals, and then Tazuna says that he has something to say, and then it cuts forward to them on the boat, and there's the bit of Naruto on the boat, like being told to be quiet, and then it cuts back to before they got on the boat, right after the scene that was like 2 pages earlier, where Tazuna is actually explaining the thing. So there's kind of a weirdly frantic nature to the scene construction in a lot of the early Naruto manga, is what I've been noticing. That is kind of strange, and there are definitely some attempts in the anime to rectify this a little bit, but I'm not sure they get all of the way there, because I feel like this is a conversation you have before you get on the boat.
It is a conversation you have before you're on the boat, almost there.
Yeah. It is a conversation you have before you're on the boat that you have to be quiet on.
Yeah. Like, so in the manga, is it like, is the conversation more about like, we can still just fucking say, no way, man, and we're going to turn around and head back to the Leaf?
There's definitely the implication of that. Like, I mean, obviously, because of what comic you're reading, that they're going to say yes to the mission. But, like,
yeah, there
is definitely the possibility that they could leave because they are not on a boat about to arrive at their destination.
Right, where in the anime they changed it a little bit to, well, the contract said we could escort you to the Land of Waves. We're going to get you there and leave. So, like, we technically fulfilled the contract, and so it then became like, okay, I know I didn't, pay enough money for the real contract, and also I said only that you'd only protect me to the Land of Waves, but, like, I'm still going to get assassinated. Can you help anyway?
Yeah.
Which makes it a little bit weaker.
It's definitely it definitely feels like less of an active decision on everybody's part when they're kind of in a position where it's a lot harder to leave when they choose to continue going through the mission.
Right.
Like they don't have to get you back on the boat, and we find out later in this episode that Kakashi is the only one of these kids that knows you can walk on water. So, well, Kakashi isn't one of these kids, but Kakashi's the only one of these people. Like the kids don't know that they can walk on water if they use their chakra right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I bet Sakura and Sasuke know it's something that people could do.
Maybe.
Right, ninja stuff. Throwing knives, being sneaky, walk on water, and stuff.
The stuff is where they get you. That's the big part.
Yeah, the stuff is like fireballs and
more fireballs?
Fireballs and like, I don't know.
Pull a guy into the ground?
Whatever the fuck Sakura does.
Nothing. It's sad, but we have to accept this. Yeah, I also want to talk a bit about Gato, because the introduction to him here is that he is one of the richest people in the world, and I had totally forgotten this detail. I thought he was just a local crime guy who was getting a little bit big for his breeches, maybe.
Yeah, Gato is Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, Gato controls all of the shipping waterways, or most of them, it seems like.
Also, he has gangs and drug.
He does sell drugs. We do find out that he sells drugs non-specifically. I don't know if we ever get any other mentions of the drug trade in Naruto, but this guy sells drugs, and that's how you know he's bad news.
And he hires ninja as if that's like a skeevy thing for someone to do. They list that right alongside gangs and drugs and ninja. It's like, okay, hold on.
He's hiring ninja, but he's not doing it good for the good of a country.
Uh-huh.
But it's mostly just surprising to me that Gato is such a big deal here because, or is presented as such a big deal here because I don't remember anything with him ever coming up again after this arc. Like any repercussions of what happens in this arc ever happening, or ever coming up. And I would assume there would be more disruption to...
Well, I mean, you gotta figure that that one of the richest people in the world being killed by ninja is like kind of a common occurrence.
Maybe it is.
So, really, how rich could he be if they're always getting knocked off the top there?
It's that's a beautiful vision where being the richest person in the world just puts it's just like a countdown on your head until the ninjas get you.
Just a huge target, yeah.
That's wonderful.
I think we should implement something similar.
It's like you might be onto something.
I'm not going to specify.
No.
For plausible deniability in what I'm saying here.
Mm-hmm.
But,
We're just doing world building right now. Theoretical.
Yeah. In Minecraft.
The only other thing I have to talk about in this bit before we move on is that I talked a bit about the early translation weirdness in the manga, and that's kind of continuing. The thing that struck me this time is that it just sort of alternates between saying Land of Waves and Nami no Kuni. And there's not a translator's note that says it's the same thing. It just kind of goes back and forth. And
nice.
Yeah, classic.
I also want to say something about the dub here. They try really hard to make it very clear that why Gato's business will be in trouble if the bridge is built. They over-explain every single aspect of it. It's really funny.
Huh. Is there just a lot more dialogue to that point, or?
Yeah, there's just a lot more dialogue. To the point where people keep talking even after the screen looks away from them. Kakashi, I noticed Kakashi is someone who gets away with that a lot on account of the face situation there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's just funny how the English dub was just and because... Hold on, let me get a real example. Nah, fuck it. Bit over. I'm over explaining now. Fuck off. Fuck you.
You've fallen for the trap.
That's my goal for recording podcasts now. I'm going to say less.
We can all have dreams and goals and ambitions.
All right, are we done with this part?
Yeah.
Fuck you. Okay. Naruto and the gang make it to land and start hiking to Tazuna's house, where they can get some rest. But on the way, jealous of how cool Sasuke was in the last encounter, Naruto starts pretending he senses someone nearby and throws a knife to a nearby bush. While he's being told off for messing around, Kakashi and Naruto sense something. Naruto immediately throws another knife, this time nearly hitting a rabbit. Kakashi takes note of the white fur, meaning this individual was likely raised indoors for substitution jutsu. Watching from a nearby treetop, Zabuza identifies Kakashi and makes himself known by throwing his huge fuck-off sword into a tree, perching right on top of it. He does a really dramatic look over the shoulder. It's really funny.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're back on land now, so that everybody can do comedy bits again. It's safe that it's safe for Naruto to do funny fuck ups.
Mm-hmm. I also think it's a really funny bit that Naruto's trying to show off by pretending to be a super alert ninja.
I mean, there is not actually a noise when the rabbit appears, so he does sense that rabbit. So good on him, I suppose.
Yeah, I really like the editing of it too, where it's like Kakashi notices it, and then you see Naruto having thrown the knife.
Mm-hmm.
We see Zabuza again.
Zabuza's here. He's got his big sword. Every time I see this specific shot of Zabuza perched on his sword in the tree, I remember the sort of infamous German dub of Naruto, how they would, I believe it was the German dub, where they would go out of their way to edit out a lot of the weapons. So you just have Zabuza standing on a hilt of nothing.
That's really funny.
It's a classic image. If it actually exists and I didn't just make it up in my memory.
I hope so. Kakashi recognizes Zabuza and tells the kids to stay back and protect Hazuna. Getting serious, he raises his headband to reveal he possesses the Sharingan in his left eye. Naruto doesn't know what that is, so Sasuke tells him it's a special eye that has a bunch of cool powers, like seeing through genjutsu. Zabuza compliments his understanding and fills in that it also allows someone to copy almost any technique, even if the user has only seen it once, and that Kakashi has a reputation as someone who has copied over 1,000 jutsu. Sasuke is confused because he knows the Sharingan to be a special trait unique to the Uchiha clan, of which he is the sole survivor.
I think there's a really fun bit of intrigue kind of unfolding in this scene where we first see Kakashi, he pulls out the Sharingan, and, because we've seen just a brief image of the Sharingan in a previous episode when Sasuke is thinking about the guy he wants to kill, it's oh shit, what does this mean? And then, that goes further when we actually get the explanation of what the Sharingan is, and it's oh shit, why does Kakashi have the Sharingan? And that's a fun little mystery to be planting in the heads of your viewers. Of course, if you were watching this on American television on the time, it's very likely that you would just go online and search about that, because by the time this episode aired in America, the manga arc that basically has all of those answers had already finished, so that was all out there. But if you were watching this outside of that context, or if you had the wherewithal to not look up Naruto spoilers as a teen, it would have been a cool mystery to you.
Yeah, I think I started watching Naruto on Cartoon Network, and I'm pretty sure the point that I watched had already established Sasuke as being someone who had Sharingan.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really have a pre-Sasuke Sharingan reveal.
Mm-hmm.
Or period, right?
Right. I also think it's fun how I think it's funny how when Sasuke's having his internal monologue, he's could he be? And there's kind of the implication of to the viewers, is Sasuke wondering if this is the guy that he wants to kill? But in actuality, the question is wait, do I have a cousin I don't know about?
Yeah. Well, he does. We're gonna get into that way later.
Oh God, yeah, that's the whole thing.
Also, can I say something? And it's something I wasn't expecting.
What's that?
Zabuza is kind of good with kids.
What do you mean?
Okay, I mean, the way he talks to the children, when he's not mwahaha, I killed children.
Uh-huh.
It's I don't know, kind of charming.
Do you have examples to point to that? Because this isn't something I picked up on.
I think specifically here when he is talking to Sasuke about what the Sharingan is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and I got little hints of it later. I'll see if I can.
I mean, if this is a thread you want to keep pulling on as we discuss these episodes, you should definitely go for it.
Yeah, this is I think where I first noticed it, but and it might have just been that one interaction that kind of came across weirdly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do want to pay more attention to that, even in future episodes.
I'm interested in this read and in the extent that you see this coming through in Zabuza's interactions with Team 7 because
you didn't see it, right?
Yeah, I guess that's the thing, isn't it?
Like, all I'm saying is that there is a world out there where Zabuza, with maybe a different upbringing, is like a pretty cool dad.
Zabuza's just like just like another Kakashi out there somewhere.
Right.
That's beautiful to think about.
Sword Kakashi.
Sword Kakashi.
Okay, moving on. Zabuza is done talking and obscures the area in a cloud of mist. Kakashi warns the kids not to let their guards down, since Zabuza is a very dangerous killer, and clears the mist around them with a chakra pulse. Sasuke is overwhelmed by Jonin's killer intent, and momentarily considers taking his own life before Kakashi snaps him out of it. Zabuza has something to say about that, though, and drops between all of Team 7, disrupting their manji formation. Kakashi springs to action, stabbing Zabuza and pushing him away from Tazuna and the children. Zabuza spills water from his wound as a second, probably more real Zabuza appears from behind Kakashi and cleaves him in half with his sword, revealing that Kakashi too was a water clone. The real Kakashi puts a knife to Zabuza's neck and lets him know that the fight is over. So Kakashi's doing some copy ninja stuff right now.
Kakashi, the copy ninja, is doing his copy ninja tricks. Yeah, so you were talking earlier about how Zabuza came across as like weirdly good with kids to you in this episode, but I think the thing that was distracting me from that here is there are like bits in this episode where Zabuza is just like a sicko serial killer guy that I forgot about the element of him that was that. I feel like that gets really downplayed whenever anybody talks about Zabuza, but he just has this bit where he's like, "Here's all the places I could stab and kill you."
Yeah. Also, the chakra pulse Kakashi does to clear the mist, I feel like that's a weird thing that's just kind of brushed over.
Yeah?
Yeah, right, because I don't think it's anything.
I mean, it's a chakra pulse, you know?
Yeah, just...
You dissipate the mist or whatever, at least chakra. I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's just like, I don't know. It came across as like a weird thing to glance over, right? Because like it is in a way like a key strategic moment in this encounter is making it so everyone can see. And like I guess it is kind of like self-evident, right? And so it doesn't necessarily need to be over-explained. But like I don't know. I guess I wouldn't like I don't think there's anything that they could add to make it better. Right? Like I don't feel like there needs to be like an explanation on top of what's there. But it is still like a moment that feels kind of like paced out weird. Does that make any sense?
I mean, I think it sort of makes sense because this was something I completely forgot about. So like it just didn't stick in my mind at all.
Yeah, and it stuck in my mind so much that I put it in the recap for no reason. Because like ostensibly it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, if we're taking this like, if we're taking like every little aspect of the work seriously and like really looking at like the chain of events here, like I said, it is like a key strategic maneuver to make sure everyone can see. It's, like, I don't know. It was just a high spot. It was like a little bit abrasive,
God, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm completely like stonewalling your point here.
No, it's fine. I think it would be better if he just didn't do that. If it was just a little bit misty.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't notice it, and like my enjoyment of the episode continued to pace. So maybe you're onto something here.
Right. I don't know why I'm so hung up on this. I also want to acknowledge that outside of Naruto doing his shadow clone thing, this is the first instance of a corporeal clone.
And this is specifically like water clone. This is not water release shadow clone, which would presumably be a different thing. But I don't know if it exists. There are like other elemental release versions of shadow clone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what the distinction is ultimately, but I don't know if it's I don't know how much it matters in the grand scheme of things.
It doesn't. Well, the thing is that shadow clones explode into smoke when they're defeated. Water clones explode into water when they're defeated, and sand clones that we'll get into later explode into sand when they're defeated.
Right, but lightning release shadow clones don't explode into smoke; they explode into lightning.
Right. That's stupid.
I think lightning release shadow clone is a bullshit jutsu. Actually, this is extremely off topic, but because you know how your chakra gets split between your shadow clones,
yeah,
and then when your shadow clone is dissipated, you get it back.
Mm-hmm.
In exchange for your clone doing a bit of lightning when it gets dissipated with lightning release shadow clone, you just don't get any of your chakra back.
Right.
Which makes it seem like a bad play to ever do.
And I guess it's different if it's like all of the chakra you put in that clone is like a substantial like big thing, right? I think that has some merit as like a trap, right? Because like if someone is like defeating your shadow clone, like they're already like in contact with it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they could also just have thrown like a kunai at it or whatever.
Yeah, but like, you know, by the time you're infusing your shadow clones with lightning, you're like pretty good at like dodging kunai.
Maybe that's true. This is really far afield. I'm trying to think of what else I had to say about this stretch of the episode. I do think it's really the bit where Sasuke is just like terrified and is like, maybe I want to die instead of being scared is very striking, and also something that is like really quickly left by the wayside. But I think it is just because like we very quickly reach the point where, you know, the kids get into fights of their own. But
yeah,
I do think it's like a very striking moment. Like it does feel like very like oppressive and intense when that's happening.
Yeah, for the couple of seconds that's happening.
Yeah, and so yeah, we were getting to the end. We're getting to the end of the episode where Kakashi is standing behind Zabuza with the knife to his throat. He's like, "Don't move," and very accommodatingly, nobody moves for the remaining 30 seconds of the episode.
Really good.
Just completely static shots.
It's very nice of them. Okay. Let's move on to episode 8, The Oath of Pain. Zabuza scoffs at Kakashi's insinuation that the fight is over and explodes into water. Kakashi dodges a big sword swing from the real Zabuza and is persuaded into the water with a kick to the chest. Kakashi has just enough time to worry about how heavy the water feels before being trapped in the sphere of water attached to Zabuza at the wrist. Zabuza summons another clone to go bully the children and insists that in order to be a ninja, one has to make a habit of getting into life or death situations.
So here in this episode, we immediately get into just like a staple of long-running shonen adaptations where the first 3 minutes of the episode are the last 3 minutes of the previous episode.
Right. That makes writing my recaps really fun.
You need to like remember where the...
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes them feel like they go by fast because by the time I start typing, I'm like, wow, I'm already 5 minutes into the episode.
Must be a nice feeling. There's like a specific bit that like really I found really like distracting and kind of amusing about this fight and the way it's edited, where when Kakashi covers the ground in spikes, and like Zabuza jumps up, like the shot is edited in such a way that like Zabuza like jumps up off the screen and the camera pulls out and we see somebody falling into the water, and for a moment I thought Zabuza just like, oh, you put caltrops on the ground, fuck this, and then just dived in. It's like not dealing with that. But no, it's actually Kakashi falling underwater. I think Kakashi is like surfacing from the water and Zabuza is about to do his water prison jutsu. And in my subs, I have the beautiful line, "It's a special prison that makes it impossible for you to escape." Which is like, you know, I guess that's what you want from one of those.
Yeah, I think I like how the early part of this fight, this like first phase where it's like Kakashi versus Zabuza and then Kakashi gets in the prison. I like how it is establishing like a limit, or I guess like it is establishing that Kakashi's like copy bullshit until he starts to like, you know, that we'll learn more about it later, but like the copying jutsu in itself is like kind of not great when going up against someone who's, you know, jutsu it like actually is, because we see that Kakashi makes one clone, but Zabuza immediately just chains clones together. Zabuza shows like way better like proficiency in like using the clones actually, and having more of them, right? So it's just like I like that early setup of like,
well, Kakashi's got cool tricks, but like it's not like that cool trick isn't gonna get you all the way there.
Yeah, and it's not until he pops off with his other cool tricks later that really seals it. A swift kick from water clone Zabuza relieves Naruto of his headband. Kakashi begs the children to take Tazuna and run, but Sasuke figures Zabuza will just catch up and kill them after he finishes off a defenseless Kakashi. Zabuza swats Sasuke away like a fly, and Naruto almost gives into his fear when he notices his bandaged hand and remembers his convictions. Naruto charges in swinging, only to get knocked aside like Sasuke. He pulls himself to his feet, clutching his headband that we last saw being stood on by Zabuza, and declares that there is a new name he should record in his bingo book. So that bit in the end there is like at the top of this stretch of the episode, there's a bit where Zabuza's like, only the people in my bingo book are real ninjas, right? Yeah. But like Zabuza's like, he's not part of any official organization at this point. Like, is he getting new bingo books, or is he just be like, yeah, they haven't released any like real Pokemon since Gen 3. All these other guys are fake. Yeah, right. Like, I guess it's just personal. Just this is the one I maintain myself. Do my own research. Maybe. Talk to the boys. Also, I want to point out that like bingo book is maybe like a little bit silly to hear from like an English speaker's perspective. It's like, I feel like it could have been translated differently. Or sticking with bingo book. I'm committed. Yeah. Well, they say it in the dub, so...
They say it in the dub. They say bingo. I believe they say bingo book, like those words exactly in the sub also, so...
Yeah, but like, bingo is just like a Japanese word that means like basically like wanted poster or like something to that effect. I could get the actual like literal translation of the different components or whatever, but I'm not looking at that right now, so I don't remember. Yeah, but it's basically like a binder of wanted posters of ninja from enemy factions, right? Like it's just a who's who of who's cool.
Like here's a guy you could kill for a reward, or a guy you should be worried about if you see, depending on how good you are at this ninja stuff.
It would be so funny if they just like translate it to Black Book.
Yeah.
I feel like if I was in the right chair at the right time, I would have made that decision. Because Black Book is like kind of evocative.
Mm-hmm.
And like the way that Zabuza talks about it lets you like infer pretty quick what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's kind of funny because isn't like Little Black Book like a thing where you shot down the people you fucked?
Maybe?
I feel like that's a thing.
Okay. So you're saying you would go back in time to like create this innuendo.
Right, yes. Yeah, I do want to create the implication.
You want to create the implication that the highest level ninjas are just fucking.
Yeah, obviously.
It's the truest way to gauge your enemy's power. It's just have like a fuck out of deep respect for their mastery of the ninja arts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving past that, if you're going to move past that.
Well, I don't want to linger on it, that's for sure.
There's a bit that strikes me kind of weird in specifically how the anime chooses to adapt this scene, because there isn't the bit like the bit where Sasuke is like, he'll just chase us down and kill us if we run after Kakashi tells them to run is original to the anime, and it definitely makes it kind of weird in the sense that like when Sasuke, like also the bit where Sasuke runs in and attacks Zabuza at this point is like that is also added in the anime. It winds up making the scene feel kind of weird because nobody is like, hey, Sasuke, don't run in there and attack him. They only do it when Naruto does, and Sasuke has his reasons for why he thinks that this is the right thing to do. So it kind of comes across less like Kakashi is giving advice as to what he feels like is the right thing for his team, as it is, he feels like he's being kind of condescending to Naruto, because he definitely is like, hey, Naruto, don't run in when Naruto runs in.
In a world where Sasuke didn't run in first, with no complaints, it's just like Naruto is addressed because Naruto is the one doing the thing.
Yeah, but when Sasuke does it first and everybody's like fine with it.
Yeah, that's a little bit rough.
I'm not going to linger on too much, but it definitely was a point of friction that I felt with this episode. The other thing that I noticed with the manga in this part is that what I find really weird is that in the anime we get all these scenes of Naruto. He's like flashing back to all these things that he remembers as to why he wants to stay and fight. And like usually when that's in, like when I see that in the anime, I often associate that with just a way that they're padding out the scene. But the thing is that the scene in the manga is structured basically exactly the same way, with like those scenes just pasted in there. And I feel like that's not how this usually goes. Maybe I'm wrong, and that's just more typical of Shonen Jump comics of this exact era. I feel like usually it aligns that stuff a lot more lightly when it's doing that. But there's pages of just here's the scenes from earlier in the comic. The other thing that I noticed here in the scene is that the thing that started standing out to me in this scene is that it becomes clear that the stakes of Kakashi being in the water prison are extremely not like, oh no, what if Kakashi drowns? It's just like, oh, Kakashi's in the water prison?
Yeah.
Like, he's fine. He can talk. He seems to be able to breathe. And there's like bubbles coming out of his mouth when he's like talking. So I don't know what the situation is there, but he's fine. He's fine under water apparently.
Yeah, well, ninja actually don't need to breathe a whole lot on account of their very slow heartbeat.
You're right. It's all coming together. We figured it out.
Is he like drowning in the manga?
No. Like in both situations, he seems like he's fine in there.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like if I were in the writer's room, if I had a seat at the right time.
If I was like an editor or something, you'd be like, hey, why is Kakashi fine in the water ball prison?
Yeah, I think it would add a lot more tension to the scene if Kakashi was like actively starting to drown.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that makes the water prison makes sense as a technique in general.
Uh-huh.
Right? Because it's like, I'm going to grab this one guy, stand here, and he's going to be trapped in there for as long as I hold it. Okay?
Seems like it's got some pretty exploitable weaknesses. But I guess like it is a special person you can't escape from because you're able to breathe in there. That's the trade-off.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm also going to say points off for Zabuza's whole like killer shtick. He didn't have his water clone just chop Kakashi up right there in the right there in the water prison right away.
I mean, I don't want to get too like, oh, I can't believe Zabuza didn't do this as a plot hole. It is just weird to me that there's no threat of Kakashi drowning.
I know, I'm just picking on you. Naruto has a plan, but Kakashi won't have it, and orders them to flee with Tazuna. Tazuna knows the whole ordeal is his fault, and gives them permission to stand and fight. Zabuza has a laugh and reminisces about when he was their age, which reminds Kakashi of a story he heard of a child who, without any formal training, cut down a whole generation of would-be Mist Ninja before their graduation. Zabuza regards the memory fondly, and kicks the shit out of Sasuke for old time's sake.
Hey, he's a psycho serial killer again. He's like, it was really fun when I killed all those children. And I was also a child.
Yeah. Also, the Tazuna telling them to stand and fight, it makes way more sense to put Sasuke's previous explanation of why they have to stay and fight into Tazuna's mouth here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because he is the elder in this situation, so it makes sense for him to have that bit of wisdom about how the assassins coming after him would handle the situation. Just Kakashi, don't be an idiot. We run away, he kills you, he comes and kills us, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the easiest thing in the world for Tazuna to say. But I guess that would get in the way of the, emotional core of Tazuna being no, this is my fault.
Mm-hmm. Don't
let your teacher die for my sake.
I mean, that scene doesn't rely on Sasuke having his, we should run away thing, right? Because, that scene is just not in the manga, but the scene with Tazuna here is.
Right. Yeah, that whole Sasuke situation, it would be better if it was written better,
mm-hmm.
and put in written in a way that fit more into the scenes around it.
Yeah,
that's I think what I've decided.
But I do think it's a strong moment for everybody to come together here to be we're not going to leave our comrade behind. We're not going to leave Kakashi to die.
Yeah, especially after Kakashi just walked Sasuke back from the edge of suicide by basically saying hey, don't worry, I'm not going to let my comrades die.
Mm-hmm.
To immediately turn that back around, but addressing Kakashi is something.
Yeah, I like that bit. What I like a lot less is as Naruto is talking about how he has a plan, there's a cut over to Sakura blushing, and I hate it. I find it repellent.
It's so bad.
It's bad enough when Hinata's doing it. When Sakura is also doing it, I can't stand it. I'm so glad that Naruto is not the comic where Naruto is just accruing a bunch of girls who blush at him, because I've seen a brief vision of it here, and it would be miserable because Masashi Kishimoto is not writing anything to back it up. It is just girls blushing.
I think I would cry.
I think I would be making a Naruto podcast.
Yeah. I think I would cry if we started making a Naruto podcast and then I found that out.
Did you know that actually every girl in Naruto likes Naruto? Did you forget about that, Gwen? Did you
no joke, nightmare scenario.
It is easy to rag on Naruto being a comic where all of the romance is extremely perfunctory, but every time we get a glimpse of it here, I'm maybe it's kind of a relief that I don't have to deal with that very much.
Yeah, you know what? Fair. And something that I want to point out, just a little detail that I left out of the summary. In case some insane person is listening to this without having ever watched Naruto.
That's possible.
I mean, the thing about Hidden Mist Ninja for in order to graduate and become a ninja, you have to kill another candidate in a one-on-one fight.
Yeah. The Hidden Mist, it comes up how the Hidden Mist has a reputation as an especially brutal and violent ninja village. It's the Blood Mist or whatever. It's its nickname. The picture we get of Zabuza here is he's a sicko even beyond that.
Yeah, right. Because for now, because he showed up to school without any ninja training and killed all the others, and was all right, I'm a ninja now, right?
You're not gonna tell him no.
Yeah, right. It's yeah, okay, dude. Yeah, sure. Look, we got we have about 100 spare headbands now. You
want an extra? What if Zabuza was just a guy who had an armor suit made out of 100 headbands?
He shows up to class this was a battle royale, right? I won.
To Zabuza, every bus is the battle bus.
It's so scary.
Every time he gets off, he's looking for 100 fuckers to kill.
I'm so mad now.
Are you mad that Zabuza isn't in Fortnite?
Yes.
Child Zabuza.
You would be so perfect because you get the big sword as the mining tool.
Maybe Zabuza gets added to Fortnite later if they keep adding Naruto characters.
I hope.
We all have to hold on to something.
So are we ready to move on to the coolest part in any anime ever?
I am ready to move on to the coolest shit.
Okay. Naruto creates a crowd of shadow clones to pile on Zabuza. Zabuza throws them off, but Naruto tosses Sasuke a Demon Wind Shuriken, Windmill of Shadows.
Looks fucking sick.
Sasuke throws it past water clone Zabuza. Unfortunately for Sasuke, Zabuza is really good at catching Demon Wind Shuriken with one hand, but Sasuke didn't throw one Demon Wind Shuriken. He threw two, hiding the second in the shadow of the first. But Zabuza's reflexes are too honed, and he hops over the second Demon Wind Shuriken. But unfortunately for Zabuza, Sasuke didn't throw two Demon Wind Shuriken, he threw one! The Shuriken that Zabuza hopped over erupts into a cloud of smoke, revealing it to have been a knife-throwing Naruto the whole time.
It's so fucking good. Like, this is like, everybody knows this is the highlight of this like, whole situation. Like, this is by far, like, the most, like, animation intense part of the episode.
It's so good.
It's such a cool trick. Like, I don't always hold Naruto in my mind as like an action comic that's about like using your powers for cool tricks, but this is a really good trick.
It's a really good trick.
I have very specific memories. Like, I was watching this for the first time on like DVDs I was borrowing from a friend. It was like, I was just like sort of sitting there. I got to the end of this episode and I stood up, I was like, I need to talk to somebody about this. Like, pacing around my house and like going to my little brother to like frantically explain this this Naruto fight trick. And I bet he had no idea what was going on, but you know.
Right. And it's like, it's so good. Like, it's like a really cool trick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a good, like, first real trick.
Yeah.
In, like, the whole anime. Before this, Naruto just kind of, like, used his powers in, like, a pretty straightforward way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, the most he ever did was, like, haha, you didn't know I actually had 10 other me's hiding around.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like, standard usage of shadow clones. Or I guess clones in general, if you want to broaden that description into, like, water clones, or sand clones, or lightning release shadow clones.
I will never.
And, like, this is the first time that it uses, that utilizes several different, like, little, like, tricks and gimmicks to pull something off. That's so cool. And it's so cool that it's the first one, because it never gets better.
There's a lot of stuff that'll get better, but you know.
No, because it's the first one. Also, we need to talk more about Demon Wind Shuriken, Windmill of Shadows.
It's so good. It's cool as hell. It's like, it starts with, you got the like the one, like there's like the 4 blades of line, you like spin it out. It's just cool. It's just cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. We don't get a whole lot of like impressive like named equipment.
Yeah, that's because the character who specializes in that never does anything.
Right. So something about like pulling out the Demon Wind Shuriken is like all of the children in the area are like really impressed. But like it's just a toy you have, right? Like it's like a big shuriken that like folds out and it's like cool, sure, but it's like it's still just 4 knives in a circle. I don't know. I think the presentation is like a little bit goofy in that regard. It gives me like big like, oh, this is the toy that was on the commercial vibes. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't think this is like a thing that was invented for Naruto to sell toys, but like I get how, like, you know.
No. I mean like,
if you sold a toy of this, like, and
No, I mean like in the Hidden Leaf.
Oh, okay.
There is a shop somewhere that puts up posters.
Okay.
Of the Demon Wind Shuriken marketing to children.
Oh, yes.
And everyone's all like, oh man, that's so cool.
Oh, man. These children are going to go apeshit when somebody missed the gun and it's advertised to them.
They do, in Boruto. But the fucking Hokage...
We can't get this far off topic. We can't talk about it.
We can't talk about Boruto yet.
I have thoughts about that. But we can't get into that now.
We can't get into that now.
We can get into the next episode if you want.
I guess we can. Episode 9. Kakashi, Sharingan Warrior. Naruto, still flying through the air from his time spent as a Demon Wind Shuriken, hucks a knife at Zabuza's head, forcing him to bring concentration on the water prison holding Kakashi. Kakashi is impressed with Naruto and Sasuke. Zabuza blames the water prison breaking on a distraction, but Kakashi insists on giving Naruto credit and lets Zabuza know that he won't be able to capture him again. Zabuza begins to chant, and Kakashi, with his Sharingan, matches him word for word, each letting out an identical water dragon jutsu simultaneously. Zabuza gets tilted as we see a mysterious masked figure watch from a nearby tree branch.
Okay. So before we get into the events of, like specifically, like following up on those events, I want to talk about how The storyboarder for this episode, Toshia Niidome, is he's not like a storyboarder that like I in the past held in like particularly high regard. Not as it's like, oh, I don't like his work, but I just didn't like make notice of it. And this isn't like a like wildly impressive episode, but I specifically want to bring him up because of the 220 episodes of this first run of Naruto, Toshia Niidome storyboarded 43, which is a ridiculous number. It was like nearly a fifth.
Yeah, that's a pretty big chunk.
He only has like a couple within like the first year of the show's run, but like by the time he is like working regularly, he's storyboarding an episode of Naruto every 4 weeks on average.
Wowee. I have no concept of how long it takes to storyboard an episode of Naruto, so...
I don't know specifically how long, like, the storyboarding process generally is, but it is a density of working on this show in particular that is not matched by anybody else on this show's, on the show's staff. Like, it is not uncommon for, long-running productions to have, like, specific people who, like, turn out, like, acceptable work at, like, a high rate, and, like, I think a lot of the time, those sorts of people wind up being the backbone of, like, this kind of anime production, even if they are often not anybody's favorites. But, you know, I think it is worth shouting that out on some level.
Yeah. So, when Zabuza starts the Water Dragon Jutsu, and, Kakashi matches him, this is the first time we see a technique that includes, like, a verbal component.
Is it a verbal component?
That's how it reads to me, because they're just, like, chanting and doing the signs, and then, like, Kakashi also does the chant and the signs to get the jutsu out, right?
Like, I always read this as, like, this is just sort of them, like, thinking the names of the signs as they go, and, like, we're getting those, like, we're getting that sort of, like, internal chant, like, played over the scene. Like, maybe it is them chanting. I just don't think of that being, like, a thing that people do as part of, performing their jutsu in Naruto.
Right, that's why it came across as weird for me.
I think in this part specifically, I think it is, it creates this sort of layering effect that makes it kind of like, oh, this is like kind of overwhelming and difficult to follow. And I feel like it's going for that more than it is specifically going for the idea that they're chanting.
I guess part of what gave me that concept was that, like, if it is kind of like an internal, like, memorized, like, to, like, a mnemonic to, like, help memorize the order of the signs, it is acted very strangely if it's not, like, a chant to go along with the spell.
Yeah, I think part of the reason that it reads so strongly as, like, an internal thing is, I'm going to post how it's presented in the manga.
Okay. Well, I didn't see that.
I know you didn't, but I'm like, explaining to you how this contributes to my read of this.
Okay.
But like you see here, I feel like the like bubbles that the symbols are in are very much like this is very much the visual language of like this is somebody's thoughts and not this is something that's being said out loud.
Right. And then in the anime it's like the line read for going through all the different signs is very like slow and chant like.
Is it slow?
Yeah, I mean, like, it goes by quick, but, like, the like, vocal reverb and, like, the intonation, it's very, like, I don't know how to describe it, because, like, I'm not good at describing sounds or whatever, because I'm a fucking idiot.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, listen to it, and you get what I'm saying, yeah? Like it sounds like an incantation.
I get that. I guess it also sort of, like, lends to the ambiguity of it, because you can't see either of their mouths.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident in my read of this situation, though.
Yeah, I have no doubt that in the manga, it's supposed to be, like, an internal, like, thinking through the order of the signs, right? That is not the read you get from just watching the anime, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because that is not the read I got from watching the anime.
That is evident. And this is an episode that I feel like on the scale of my previous times watching Naruto, where I was just kind of like just kind of going through it and not doing a particularly like not paying particularly close attention to every bit and just kind of like coasting between the episodes that are like especially intricate. This is the kind of episode that didn't really stand out to me. But on the scale of watching 3 episodes a week, this is definitely I think this is definitely the most like technically impressive episode we watched this week.
Oh yeah, because it's Kakashi and Zabuza's whole like real confrontation.
Mm-hmm. But like I mean, there's like some like when Naruto's like when I like hit Zabuza below the eye and like it's zooming in on him, there's like a really bad ghosting effect that's applied to it that makes them kind of hard to see. But I think there's like some really striking drawings of like that slow like zoom where like the fabric of his headband and like the blood are like flowing past his eye. And I think the big moment where the two like water dragons clash into each other and collapse is like it's not as like kind of like free flowing and organic looking as a composition as it is in the manga, but I think there's like I was surprised by like the intricacy of like the fluid animation here, And there's definitely like some like kind of like smartly used and disguised loops in there, but like I think it definitely does like catch the eye like really well when the two dragons collide and like burst and like sort of collapse into like flow over the battlefield. It's I think this episode is doing like a like this isn't the episode that like stands out to everybody's minds, but and like, this is the episode that gets a lot of like Sakugaburu uploads or anything, but it is an episode that I think is doing a really good job with like what it has.
Yeah, I think it does a really good job of conveying the action in a way. Well, I guess also like a little bit ahead of myself. Like after this water dragon, like not a whole lot interesting like visually needs to happen.
I think there are still moments after that, but like
for sure. But like nothing that would be like nothing that needs to be too intricate or like that you need to throw a lot of money at animating.
I'm balking at the phrasing of like needs to throw a lot of money at animating because it's more complicated than that. But like it's fine. It is fine as a shorthand, as long as we all are under the understand. As long as we are all of the understanding that you can't just throw money at it and make the show look better.
Yeah, no. You have to have your fucking drawing budget.
Gwen, you're hurting me.
I know. I said it because it would hurt you, Ruby.
This is your ninja technique. I also the thing I like is there's a cut to as Sasuke and everybody are like watching this where everybody else looks kind of impressed, but like Sasuke specifically looks kind of annoyed. It's like this is like whatever. Whatever. I could do this, I bet.
Yeah, it's just Sharingan.
It's just Sharingan.
I'm still mad about why this motherfucker has Sharingan.
He's gonna need to explain that to me. I wanna get some answers. He thinks he's gonna show off, and everyone's gonna like brush over it. No.
I wonder if there's a part of him too that's like, cool, somebody teach me how to use my fucking Sharingan. I was worried about that a little bit.
A little bit. I'm not gonna say that. It would be cool, but
it wouldn't be cool, but
like, damn, it's good that not everybody who knows about this is dead.
Or the man I want to kill.
Yeah.
Who is dead, to me, by the way. He's a dead man walking is what he is. Ugh. Okay, Kakashi, to further psych Zabuza out, begins finishing his sentences and talking over him, matching him word for word. Zabuza sees a shadow of himself behind Kakashi and considers Genjutsu, but before he has time to come to any conclusions, he's washed away with Kakashi's giant vortex jutsu, the very same technique Zabuza was just about to use. Kakashi once again informs Zabuza that the fight is over, as Zabuza resigns himself to defeat at the hands of an enemy capable of seeing the future. Kakashi draws a blade and tells Zabuza of his imminent death. As two big needles sink into Zabuza's neck from off-screen, the masked figure chuckles. And lets Kakashi know he was right. Zabuza died.
I think this is really fun because, like...
Yeah.
Like, unless I'm forgetting something, the Sharingan doesn't let you, like, see the future or, like, read people's minds. Kakashi's just, like, really good at psyching this guy out. It's a great moment because, like, reading this, you don't know, like, the extent of what Kakashi can do and, like, what the Sharingan is. But, like, in retrospect, like, going back to it, it's like, oh, he's just, like, a really good showman. He's, like, really putting out the stops, maybe he, maybe there's some element of Genjutsu at play. Maybe he's, like, he knows this specific jutsu that Zabuza was doing and he was, like, baited into doing it or something. Maybe he, is, like, he just knows enough about the constructions of jutsu that he can figure out where this one was going.
Yeah, he could have also used Genjutsu to, like, stall Zabuza enough for him to catch up and get the jutsu out before him.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of, like, explanations of, like, what specifically could have happened, and, like, it doesn't really matter, but, like, I think it's very fun that, like, to Zabuza, there's this, like, very scary idea of what has just happened that, like, is probably not true.
Right.
Kakashi's, like, style of using the Sharingan is, like, convincing people that it can be, and I think that's really fun.
Yeah. He's, like, later, he's back in the Hidden Leaf, hanging out with Guy, drinking buddies. Mm-hmm. And he's like, and then I used my Genjutsu to make a shadow of him appear behind me, and he flipped the fuck out. It was so funny.
God.
I need that.
We need just, like, a series of, like, in-character recap episodes of, like, Kakashi talking about, like, his missions with Guy, and Guy is, like, talking about some missions that happen off screen.
Right, and they're just, like, drinking and laughing it up.
Oh, that'd be great.
Hold on, I need to compose an email to the Naruto team.
Uh-huh.
Get this off the ground. I'll help. And then they don't answer my email.
Not always the way. Hey, I also really like a lot of the animation as Kakashi is actually doing the giant vortex jutsu. Like, I think there's a lot of really snappy timing as where it pauses just long enough before rushing over the screen, pushing Zabuza back and tearing through the trees. And there's a surprisingly involved bit of background animation where it's if you look closely, you can see that the water is looping and the background is looping, and they're not even it's not even one loop. It is one of these loops is shorter than the other, but it definitely catches the eye and feels appropriately chaotic, especially when it goes into the final stretch where it zooms in on the rushing water and goes right for the camera.
Mm-hmm.
I was just surprised to see that here, because in my mind there's sort of a canon of what the good looking Naruto episodes are, and it's always a pleasant surprise to see that there's stuff I just didn't really hold in my mind, especially when I'm going to be going back over this in such detail.
Yeah. Also, this is a good time to take notice of this quote masked figure, his whole situation, his design.
Mm-hmm.
It's really strong.
Yeah. Sometimes a mysterious guy shows up and that fucking rocks.
Yeah, it fucking rules. He's the coolest guy in Naruto.
All right. You're planting down your stake on a lot of peaks very early on. But the mask is cool.
The mask is so cool. Man, I wish other people had cool masks in Naruto.
Just guys with bullshit masks. I'm not actually committing to the statement that every other mask in Naruto is bullshit, but this is a very cool mask.
All of the Tracker Ninja masks are pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what this mask is, because in the fiction of this podcast or whatever, we haven't seen the rest of this episode.
Yeah.
That's not true. Hey, a little peek behind the curtains. We watch all of the episodes before we start recording.
God, can you imagine if we each watch 5 minutes of an episode and take it we take a break, we take our notes, and we come back? That would be it would take 12 hours to record the podcast.
It would be really funny.
I would be exhausted. I would die every week.
So, speaking of dying, Kakashi checks Zabuza's vitals and finds no sign of life. The masked figure thanks Kakashi's efforts in defeating Zabuza. Kakashi identifies the figure as a tracker ninja from the Hidden Mist, and notes from his height and voice he's very likely not much older than Naruto. Naruto can't stand someone his age being way cooler than him, and demands to know what his deal is. Kakashi reassures him that the world is full of freaks, and that there are indeed children younger than Naruto but stronger than Kakashi. The tracker ninja takes this as an opportunity to get going, and grabs Zabuza's body, as to not leak any Mist ninja secrets, and vanishes into a gust of wind. Kakashi stops Naruto's second existential crisis of the day and takes 2 more steps before falling flat on his face, unconscious.
Yeah. Your summary is pretty flippant, but I really like this whole scene.
It's really good, yeah.
It's really good. Something I want to specifically call out here is a change from the manga that I actually really like. When Kakashi identifies this mysterious figure as a tracker ninja, in the manga, it's Haku that explains what a tracker ninja is, but in the anime, it's Sakura who steps forward and is tracker ninja, they hunt down people who defect from the villages and they kill them. And, everybody does this. This is normal. And I think that it does such a stronger job of positioning what the ninja world is, because with the framing of the blood mist earlier on in these episodes, it would be very easy to believe oh, this is just an especially fucked up practice or whatever. But I think it's very strong to plant that seed that this is what the world is, because that's also true of the comic. It's just I think it's a smart move to get that positioned earlier and more clearly, and not create an immediate realm of deniability of the leaf being not quite as bad as everywhere else. Because it's probably better than the mist, but
yeah, I mean, it's got it's got big heads and rock faces, shacks.
Yeah,
I mean, the mist probably has shacks too. Now that I think about it,
it might even have rock faces. I don't remember.
No, couldn't be. How would they?
How would they
keep all the mist around? It would just fly right over the hill.
You've lost me.
Everyone knows that you can't have mist and rock faces. They scare each other away.
All right, I'm not digging further on this.
It's science, Ruby.
Okay. I'll defer to you as the science expert of the podcast. I don't know science. I just know anime.
Okay, alright, okay. That's good, because I am the smart one.
I also really like Naruto's freak out here, because obviously the way it is expressed externally is oh, this is a kid and they're way stronger than me. What am I doing here? But I think there's a lot more going on there, because also this is the first time Naruto has ever seen somebody die and has ever come to terms with the fact that somebody who was obviously very strong could still be seen as disposable, only of value as long as they continue to provide value to the system they work for. And Naruto doesn't know how to express that because he's never really taken the time to like direct his feelings towards anything other than like a desire to become strong because he knows people acknowledge strong people. But I think you can definitely tell like, oh, there's a lot on this kid's mind that he does not know how to say, and I think it's really cool. And I think that the performance here from Junko Takeuchi as Naruto is like very strong.
Yeah. Also, can I say something? I don't think it took that much of a cool guy to kill Zabuza then. It was just like, you just throw a knife. Anybody could do that.
Yeah.
Right? The whole like Kakashi's whole angle of like, yeah, there's like stronger people out there, bud, like get used to it. Like, doesn't hold a lot of water to me. Because like Zabuza was like already defeated.
Right. I guess so. But also like they put like two knives like two needles very precisely through the neck without being noticed before that.
Yeah. Like I suppose, right? Like, you know, it's just one of those things that like on some level I think conveying his skill in that instance in maybe a more dynamic way would have like settled with me better.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just one of these things that I like just immediately buy because I have so much of Naruto in my mind that like, you know, when I say like, oh yeah, this guy's really strong, I remember like the stuff he does later in this arc where he's really strong.
Yeah, right.
And like it is really hard for me to know sometimes how this would play if I didn't have all of Naruto in my brain for the last decade or whatever.
Right, and I don't want to be the bitch that, like, keeps trying to rewrite scenes in Naruto, but I guess I'm gonna, because something that I think could have sold this scene a little bit more to me was if Zabuza was, like, ready to get back into it, and the tracker ninja, as we're going to keep calling him, like, stuck the needle in him, like, mid-swing, and dropped him.
Maybe.
Right, because then it's like, oh, I want to see where this goes. Okay, I've seen what I've needed to see. Pop, Zabuza's dead.
Mm-hmm. Like on the point of Kakashi, like being like, oh yeah, there's kids that are, younger than you but stronger than me or whatever. Not that Haku is necessarily like either of those things, because like I know Haku is older than Naruto. Right? Actually, I'm saying Haku. I didn't say Mysterious Tracker Ninja or whatever.
Oh no, we can keep calling him Haku. It doesn't fucking matter.
Right, like yeah, the character is like older than Naruto, and like I don't know, there's like power levels to determine whether or not he's stronger than Kakashi or not.
Kakashi's actually talking about Gaara here.
Maybe. I was curious if there's like a exact like expression of this that we see, and like maybe that is intended to be like maybe Gaara is intended to be that. But the thing I like about that being Kakashi's response is that like I bet Kakashi knows there's other shit going through Naruto's head, but like the only real response he has is specifically on that level of like, yeah, you know, there's strong people out there. Like he can only respond to like Naruto's like Naruto's complaints on this one specific level, because I think Kakashi is a guy who on a lot of levels doesn't have the answers to any of those questions that Naruto's worried about either. Like he's just in this system, and he's gonna try and keep these kids from dying if he can. But like he doesn't really have like anything else figured out beyond that. I think it is like, I think that's like a strong place for these characters to be in.
Yeah, Kakashi's just like, oof, wait until you get a bingo book. You learn about all kinds of strong babies. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, Naruto should be in people's bingos books, right?
I mean,
even as a short, like, yeah, this 12-year-old has the fucking nine-tailed fox in him, keep an eye out.
I mean, in theory, that is a secret.
Okay.
I have my questions about how that is a secret that anybody's managed to keep, given the specific situation that I'm not going to get into right now. But, like, in theory, people don't know that Naruto has the nine-tailed fox in him.
He has whiskers.
Anybody could have whiskers. Maybe he's just like a cat-themed ninja.
I suppose it's possible. Because in Boruto, we do get a cat-themed ninja, so we know it's not unheard of in the Hidden Leaf.
Uh-huh. So do you have more you want to say?
Yeah, I'm going to say it. You know it. I know it. We all know it.
Right.
I don't think Zabuza's actually dead.
Yeah, I mean, well, we know Zabuza's not dead because we watched the show before.
I'm just saying, the big bad of the whole arc being killed off in episode what? What is this, like episode 4 of the arc?
I mean, like, yeah, like the fact that like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take the body away and definitely destroy it. That's obvious. Oh yeah, this isn't actually over stuff.
And also, we established last time that Kakashi doesn't know anything about how the human body works. So I don't trust his reading on whether or not Zabuza was alive.
Just checking the wrong area for a pulse.
It's like touches his forehead. It's like, yeah, he's burning up. Must be dead.
And then he collapses on the fucking ground. You know, we talk a lot about bullshit cliffhangers or whatever. This is like a pretty, like, this is an alright one.
Yeah, this is like the real twist of the next episode. It turns out Zabuza is not dead, but Kakashi is.
Fine, we fall into the Kakashi is dead timeline. Naruto's going to be completely different from how I remember it. There's one last thing I want to touch on, which is this is not like something that's in the anime. This is in the like bonus content in the Naruto manga volumes.
Mm-hmm.
There is a bit where like Masashi Kishimoto is talking about like various things about Kakashi and about like the books that Kakashi is reading, and he's just kind of like being coy about the fact that it's like a porn novel. But also there's a bit that's like, but I will say that if Kakashi gets his wish, Make Out Paradise Volume 1 may yet be published in English, and that is a threat. I am registering that as a threat.
That is a threat.
I do not want Masashi Kishimoto to write and publish porn.
If he does, we have to read it for the podcast.
Like, because like, like, as I understand, my understanding of what these books are is it's not just fucking, it's also like a romance. And like, that is just two things that I have no confidence in Masashi Kishimoto's ability to write.
Ruby, it's not pornography, it's erotica.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Huge difference.
But yeah, that about does it for me. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think I'm good.
All right.
That'll be it. Thanks for listening to episode 3 of Konoha Crush. Next week we will be watching episodes 10 through 12 of Naruto. And I guess this is our sign off. See you later, and remember, there is no such thing as filler.